We just want to welcome you to the Situations podcast, where we're going to talk about a whole lot of situations.
Oh, the Situations podcast.
Yeah, the situations. What a funny word to me.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for sharing that, Travis.
Think about it. It's like super not defined. You're just like, what is a situation? It could be anything. We've got a situation.
We have a situation right now.
Right now, us three getting together is a situation.
This is a powerful, powerful situation.
It is.
If we were in Northern Ireland, they would call it a situation.
A situation.
Situation.
That's funny. That's how they say it in Mississippi too.
That's exactly.
It's situations for us.
Who knew Mississippi and Northern Ireland were the same? bunch of guys in tank tops going from bar to bar.
Yeah. We got a situation.
That's fair.
Sorry to all my Mississippi friends. Man, Matt, dude, we haven't seen you in person for a minute, dude. Travis and I see each other all the time.
Oh, great.
But like, I don't know, when was that? I mean, I think it was at an Integrity retreat or camp or something. Yeah.
2018.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Man, and you have since planted a church, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you continue to put out music, dude. I mean, like you're prolific, bro. And your wife has the funniest podcast on the internet. Like,
well, her social media, she's totally embraced TikTok and more recently like Instagram, and she's taking it to another level. It's kind of crafting and kind of hacks for stay-at-home moms, and there's a kind of cost of living crisis in the UK right now, and so she grew up quite poor, and then trained as an art teacher, and so she is. Do you guys have the word thrifty? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
100%.
She is unbelievably thrifty, and so she loves to create and make stuff. So it's become almost a second career. So it's on the way. It's amazing. She's so creative, man. She's always been like that, but it's wild.
She
yeah.
is.
So our house is. I have this room. The rest of the house, I don't even. There's stuff in. It looks like an art department at high school.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. It's
and
wild.
does she want to get into that room and kind of decorate it, but you won't let her?
We've been well, how it is. We've been married for a long time, and you have these long-term negotiations. You play the long game with certain things, don't you? and I feel like we're not going to go there on this room. She's quite happy with the rest of the house, and I'm quite happy in this room because I'm surrounded by guitars, so it's all good. That's all I need. I don't care about the other stuff.
That's right. Look at Travis's room. He's got what did you say earlier? Look, you've got a caucus behind you.
A carcass. I'd like one of those. Did you kill it yourself, that creature?
I wrestled it to the ground.
I
wrestled it.
I love that you said that creature. Did you kill it yourself, that creature?
What is it? What creature is it? It could be. I remember the first time I went to Nashville, I saw two things that I'd never seen simultaneously on the same day in Cool Springs. One was a beaver, and then I looked up in the sky, and there was some kind of eagle, and I felt like I was having some kind of visitation.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable because we don't have any kinds of things like that in the UK.
I didn't know if you were talking. You kind of cut out for a second. You said there's two things I hadn't seen in the same day, and I was wondering if that was a Republican and a Democrat. I don't know. That's not even a political statement. It's just, have you seen them? Have you seen them in the same day? It's crazy.
I don't even know what to say.
Listen, Travis is taking this podcast over. I don't even know what to do at this point.
I'm a force.
I'm supposed to be the edgy one, dog.
Hey,
I'm the edgy one.
Hey, no, man. I turned it up.
Yeah. Ours go to 11.
Mine goes to 11. Yeah.
Dude, Matt, one thing that you said to me one time, we were at the Glen Erie, and you were talking about how you who was it? Was it your bass player that had broken his leg skiing?
It was Jock. So he runs the church now. So we
Oh,
so he,
It's
yeah,
Josh.
you remember? Do you remember, Josh? He
Josh.
busted up his leg. It was just a disaster. So we thought we'd come
yeah,
out to, a couple of Brits, and we're going to milk America for all it's worth. We're going to wring that sucker dry. And so we went to I'm going to say Keystone, somewhere and skiing up in be your neck of the woods now, Richie, Colorado.
yeah.
And we were going down one of these beautiful motorway runs because we ski in the Alps, and it's really small. And some guy, he paused, and some guy just took him out and snapped his leg clean like that in his boot. Anyway, I wasn't insured, I realized on the slopes after he got totaled. He was insured, but I wasn't insured to drive. So now he is in a boot, in a cast, driving with all the painkillers he can muster. And so he had to buy some track pants to wear for the rest of that writing session.
I remember that.
And
Yeah.
he was, to be frank, he was off his face on medication for most of it. I don't know what he wrote, but I can't imagine the theology was very sound.
Well, he was experiencing things in the Lord that none of us do.
He
He
said
was
all
like,
of a sudden in the spirit.
he'd gone to the
Yeah.
third heaven, I think.
The
Yeah.
third heaven. Yeah.
He
Yeah. The
probably went to
third
the
heaven.
fifth one that there's a couple of people visit on hard
Yeah.
meds.
Nobody talks about the fifth heaven.
No.
It's either the third or the seventh heaven. Nobody talks about the fifth. I wonder what's happening in the fifth heaven.
Maybe you need some medication from Walgreens to find out what that is.
Yeah, that's right.
That's amazing. No, but you told me. I remember you saying something about how like the British would never build a town on a mountain the way Americans do. Do you remember telling me that?
Uh,
Like you were like we would never do this. Like we would never think to put people here.
Yeah, it just I studied like American history at college, and I've always loved American music, Americana, everything, and so I love it now. Like I'm super obsessed. Anything Taylor Sheridan writes at the minute is like I'm all in for Taylor Sheridan, and it's
Okay.
this great telling of the American story. And so yeah, I think it was Glen Erie that freaked me out because basically Glen Erie is a Scottish castle, but in the middle of Colorado, and it just was like I've seen Scottish castles. As when you come, you'll see Edinburgh, and you'll see the situation is much more gothic and dark and like heavy. And then I kept going into houses. I was like, "Is this our houses are made of stone? My house is made of stone, actual stone
Wow.
from a quarry." Whereas I was hanging out in Nashville, and that it was made of polystyrene and wood. I was like, "How much do you pay for these houses? A strong gust of wind could blow this down, surely." But then I realized you guys don't have the crazy weather that we have. So it's like, oh, well, the things you learn about America as a Brit that you just think, wow, I never knew that was a thing.
Yeah.
I did love it. And I
Thank
loved hanging with you guys. It was such a beautiful thing. You were so welcoming to me to let me come in because I was terrified. And I didn't have any
Were you
drugs. I
really?
didn't have any drugs. Yeah, I didn't have the drugs to help like Jock did. Um, I, I was just, I was stone cold sober. But you guys are so kind.
you.
It
That's
was
funny.
amazing. And I don't think I'd
Oh,
written with anybody outside of our church, like worship stuff. So,
okay.
and you guys were like, "Do you want to come join us?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come."
Yeah, man. Well, and so I mean, we're talking about it, so let's talk about it.
I
By
segued.
the way, like welcome to and another thing. We just jumped right in today, but
So,
so we're I'm Richie Fike. That's Matt Hooper. That's Travis Ryan. I'll give you guys a chance in a moment to kind of tell people what you're doing, what you're up to, what you're dreaming about, what's on your soul. But obviously, the three of us on a fateful day, was it 2013, 2014?
2013.
Yeah, on a fateful day in 2013, we were assigned, I think, by integrity,
Actually, I
kind
take that back. I think it was 2012. I could be wrong. I think it was
of okay.
2012 because I hadn't moved yet to Nashville. So,
Yeah, so
Nice.
we were assigned to write together.
mhm.
Like we didn't know each other. And the way I tell the story, I'd love to hear you guys tell the way that you tell the story about the song. But the way I tell it is that the three of us, a guy from Louisiana, that's me, that is living in Colorado, a guy from across the pond, who actually, Matt, I didn't know at the time that this was kind of one of your first forays into co-writing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just thought this guy's a legend, and we're, literally like, that's what I thought. I go, dude, Matt Hooper's a legend,
Yeah.
because everybody was talking about you all week about the church you were leading and the way you lead worship and your passion and your fire and all that. And I was like, bro, this is gonna be incredible. And then Travis and I think we had written maybe 2 songs,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
and one of them was over Zoom before Zoom was a thing.
Yeah, dude.
And so we really didn't
We're the
know each other.
pioneers.
That's right. That's right, buddy. We really didn't know each other. And so I think we were kind of all sitting there going, well, shoot, what do we have in common? Travis was moving from California to Nashville at the time. Yeah, is that right, Trav?
I want to say it was in transition, something like that. I can't really remember
Yeah,
that detail, though.
right. But you were coming from a huge church,
Yep. Oh,
Rick
yeah.
Warren's church out there,
Yep.
to move to Nashville to kind of chase the dream. And anyway, all of us were just kind of going, well, shoot, what do we have in common? And then I think we started complaining about everything that's wrong with the church.
Sounds about right.
Uh, like all the things that we were seeing, and what I remember is us talking about how at that moment in the church and how prescient is this idea, um, but that the church across the globe was becoming more known for what it was against than for what it was for.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were trying to sort of reclaim the idea of, well, what is it that we actually believe?
Mm-hmm.
And Trav, I think you had already started on the chorus. Maybe you were kind of halfway through it, or you had this germ of an idea, and then we just went.
Right.
And I don't remember much about the write except it feeling, like this is a pretty good song. I like this song. I don't remember walking away from the song going, this song right here,
Mm.
this song's going everywhere. I don't remember feeling that way, but anyway, so I'd love to hear you guys tell your perspective on that day and writing that song. The song that I'm talking about is "We Believe."
Yeah.
It would later go on to be a number one radio song in America, huge on CCLI. It's been recorded. Did you guys know the song's been recorded over 200 times,
Mm.
Wow.
and it's been recorded in 70 different languages.
Mm.
Wow.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
Beautiful.
So I
All,
mean
oh, yeah.
that's wild to think about, right? I bet all 3 of us would say at some point we prayed, Lord, I want to write a song that the whole world would sing.
Oh yeah.
That's right, dude. That's right.
So anyway, so you guys take it away. Travis, tell us about your perspective on that day.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's such a long time ago. But I think one of the sweetest things was we had a whole lot of faith, a whole lot of statement. You said kind of we're talking about what's wrong with the church, and 20 or 29, 28-year-old Travis is a very different Travis than 40-year-old Travis. There's still the same, but yet things are more tame, more controlled, more sanctified. And I think there's a sense of
Less hairline.
less hairline. Yeah, a
Yeah,
little more around the midsection,
yeah, I feel that.
kind of
I
like a
feel that.
muffin top, Pillsbury Doughboy, poke me, I go, hee hee, that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I think one of the key things was just knowing what I was carrying into that was my oldest brother was dating a girl who was questioning the virgin birth,
Huh.
and she didn't believe in it, and and I was like, huh, that's really interesting. And I just kind of was sitting in those thoughts, and what does that mean? Like if you denounce and you deny the virgin birth, um, like what happens to your faith? What
Yeah.
happens to the
Yeah.
essence of what you believe at the core of you? And so there was that happening. Another dynamic that was happening, as you shared, I was at a mega church with Rick Warren, And really, the philosophy of church for the longest of time has been this idea that there are people that are seeking the Lord. The church movement before this didn't connect with you at
Mm,
all. It was your father's and mother's traditions. You, boomer generation, you just came out of the 60s and free love and all that kind of stuff. And we don't want the traditions and the boundaries and the borders that were set up by them. We kind of want to break free of that. And so there wasn't anything in the church sense that was reaching this generational gap. And so here comes the seeker. And there's probably a whole lot more dynamics to it, but this is a very short, brief synopsis of that. And then I was leading worship there, and there was just so many times, man, like leading in the context of that. We got to do church in 75 minutes, and it was about time more than it honestly felt like presence. Like we're here to meet with God, and we're gonna just love and receive and bless Him back. There was like, hey, how does I need God to fit in a box? It's God in a box. It's God in a box, girl. And it was this whole thing of like how do we fit him into our space. And and I remember just leading worship so many times going, man, people don't even believe what they're singing. And
Yeah.
so with all of those things kind of happening, I'm like, man, we need to sing a song that really defines a line from a person who does not know Jesus to a person that does know Jesus and believes in that. And I think there is a dividing line, and not to intentionally be divisive, but to really like set the tone of like, hey, like, do you want to believe this or do you not want to believe this? And so, yeah, as you said, had a little bit of the chorus. I had the verse melody beginning. In a time of desperation was the only line I had on
Yeah.
and I think how most rites begin are literally just like, so does anybody got something to say? And you're like, well, I think I got this. It was thrown in there. And dude, the Holy Spirit just breathed on that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So Matt, what about you, bud? What's your when you tell people the story of that song? What's the story you tell?
well, like being slightly overwhelmed to be there and feeling, what am I doing here? Total imposter syndrome.
Mm.
And then you guys being super friendly and me kind of watching you guys ping pong for a while.
Hey, hold on. Who was the friendliest that you remember?
My memory's hazy on
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay.
I
But you
feel
were on drugs, you said.
that's it. That's what a
Okay.
visit to Walgreens, and I'd be able to tell you the difference.
Okay. Okay.
But
In
no,
the,
it was sincerity. But you were fiery, Travis. I remember. I remember getting a real.
like a
Oh,
Charizard.
like somebody's going to pay for their crimes at any minute. It felt like I liked it. I liked it because it was like it was like where I came from.
Yeah.
There was a punk thing,
Yeah.
and I got if you're going to write a song, you better flipping believe what you're singing because I got to sing it in a post-Christian,
Wow.
super post-Christian.
Yeah.
It's warfare. What we believe is warfare in where we're
Yeah.
Wow.
declaring it in a very, very downtrodden part of the UK,
And
which
like
is
like
already
with
post-Christian.
defiance. You like being
Yeah,
defiant
yeah,
of it.
there were riots in the early 2000s, race riots and stuff. So again, not to belittle what's that, but it felt like urgent, and you had an urgency about what you brought. And I remember thinking, I remember thinking on the way into session, okay, I'm just going to help somebody else.
Mm.
And then you started to get in, and I felt like the theology of it was really inspirational, like the storyline of it
Mm.
in the time of desperation, when all we know is doubt and fear. There's only one salvation. It was like a flag. It's like a ding. It's this, everyone,
Yeah.
and I loved the absolute kind of boldness of that.
Yeah.
And then I remember lighting up, feeling really lit up around the third verse, and like what you're saying, where you carry a context into a song. And my stuff had always been in my songwriting learnings was write what you know, which is classic. And that day, or the day when I was in in America, I'd got a text from I think we'd seen 4 couples divorce in our church, and I knew all of them, and they were all younger than me and my wife, and I was furious, and I kept thinking about why, and I kept thinking about, we present a polished version of Christianity as we're what God is doing across the earth right now. I think is removing lots of those highly polished versions of events. Man, nobody gives a crap anymore about that stuff anyway in my age group, and people are like, and my kids particularly are looking. It's a cliche to say authenticity, but it's something that hits deep and goes a bit deeper than performance. And so I knew how to perform, but I wasn't able to help these people who had divorce issues, and they were just splitting up and quitting on church. And I was like, I wanted to chase them out the door and say, "Come back! This is the moment for Jesus to get involved, like right now." Like, yeah. But I think the way we present the gospel was so kind of performance based,
Yeah,
behavior
Yeah.
management rather than transformational.
that's right.
And so I remember we kind of dug in on "Let Our Faith Be More Than Anthems, Greater Than the Songs We Sing." In our weakness and temptation, I was obsessed with putting weakness and temptation in songs. Like all the time, I would put broken hearts. I would put all those sorts of things that make you feel like I was trying to make you feel something. Like
Yeah,
that temptation you've got
yeah,
in the middle of it, we believe. In that weakness you've got, that thing where James says everybody's enticed by their own lust. We've all got our own lust. In the middle of that, it works. The gospel works there. And so I was trying to kind of like, I love the grandeur of the first few verses, and then I wanted to kind of just get in your rib cage and mess with you a little bit. But
Yeah.
it was all like so playful, so celebratory. You guys were like, yeah, let's try that. Yeah, let's try. There was no kind of territorial nonsense.
yeah,
Um, but that was my memory of it. And then when we took it, I think we all have a story about when we took it home. And like you said, Richie, Jock, my buddy, said to me, "What do you write anything?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We wrote a song." He said, "Is it any good?" I went, "I don't know." I said, I it's I like it." I says, "It works really well. Like it scans and it's." Anyway, we dropped it in church. I got the recording of the first time we ever played it, and it's only happened to me in one other song that I've written, and it was like they already knew the song,
yeah.
Wow, dude.
and you can't explain that. You want to just do a giant pause button on that moment in your
Goosies.
life and go, "Hang on a minute,
Yeah.
how do you know this?"
Well, if I can interject, Matt, too,
Yeah,
I think it was pretty close proximity of all three of us. We were like, "Hey, we gonna play this song?" And I think you had played it. Maybe I remember it was a Wednesday night thing at Saddleback that I did. And I
yeah,
think Richie, you were like on a Sun. I forget, but it was really close proximity, and we were all responding like, "Dude, I just did it. It was crazy." And we're like, "Oh, well, let's see what happens." We let it, and then it was, bro, it was crazy, and we knew that there was just something. I had a buddy of mine who's super cynical worship leader, very probably similar to me at that time, and he looked at me and he goes, "There's something on this song," and he was really close to like the Jesus movement. His dad was a big part of that.
Hmm.
Him to say that, coming from the family line of faith that he and the things that they experienced during the Jesus movement, and for him to say that to me, I was like, all right, yeah, God's breathing on this in a really special way. And at that point, we're like, cool, I'm excited to lead it on a weekend.
yeah,
And God obviously just had a different authoring that he wanted to do with it.
yeah. That's yeah,
Matt, I remember vividly you pushing for weakness and temptation.
Yeah,
Like because I think that was the moment where you came most alive in the songwriting session, honestly.
yeah,
Uh, and I think I totally am so glad that you spoke up about that because I do think it went from grandeur to granular. Like
Ooh,
it really got right into the soul of the singer to go, wait, do I believe this?
hmm,
Wait a minute. I think because up until that point, it's a lot of stuff that's like, yeah, yeah, we believe that. But in my weakness and temptation, wait a minute, do I believe that?
that's right. Yeah,
And I think so, and I love that. I love writing songs that force people to go, wait a second,
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is that true for me?
Yeah. And
I love that.
I remember too, Richie, in that moment where Matt, you were fighting for this thing, and it's one of those moments where someone's communicating, and you're going, "Man, this is important what they're saying," because that
Yeah.
fight moment. I don't fully get what you're saying yet. I'm trying to connect with what you're saying, and so that sometimes can be a frustrating experience for really all people and parties involved in it. But there was just I remember Richie really leaning in and okay,
Yeah.
what are you saying? Okay,
Yeah.
how's this idea? And then okay, bringing some life to it. And
Yeah, I agree.
the
I
minute it
remember
was said, we were like, yeah, man, we. I loved how you started with the feel. Like this is
that.
important.
Yeah.
You have to remember, as Christians, we're not just all theologians. We're emotional first, and the
Yeah.
reality is, if you probably believe the theology that you believe because of what you've emotionally encountered and experienced in life,
Yeah.
like whether you
Yeah.
like that or not, that's most likely true. And
Yeah,
so,
I remember that too. Thanks for that, Richie. You translated my angst,
yeah,
and it was you. We've written a couple of things together, and you've always been very good at that at
he's a math.
translating. He's a
Master.
what? He's a master.
Yeah. Well, that's well. Thank you, Matt. I, so yeah, we wrote the song, and I've told this story before. Um, actually told it in a sermon. I was talking about how God is just hilarious, and His timing is remarkable. I don't know if Matt, if you've ever heard me tell this part of the story, so indulge me here for a moment. But
Please, yeah.
so the first thing that happened that was kind of a hey, that's cool with We Believe was Michael W. Smith
Michael W.
committed to recording it in that round table
Yeah.
or that worship in the round thing he did in Nashville. And he recorded it. Like they played the song that night, from what I heard.
Hmm.
And then um, I think I was going on a vacation. It was like the end of my work year, and I was going on a vacation. And Mike Murray, shout out to Mike.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
he called and said, "Bro, man, bad news, dude. At the last minute, Michael decided not to put We Believe on the album." And I was like, "Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do with it?"
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "I don't know." Okay, cool. And I was like, "Thanks, Jesus." Like I was really bummed,
Yeah.
And then we went on vacation. We were driving from Colorado down south to go to the beach, and we stopped in Amarillo to go to a friend's church in Amarillo, Texas. Big church. I don't know, 7,000, 8,000 people or whatever. And my friend's the music director there, Teal. And they had a guest communicator. This guy, I'm sitting like 15 rows back, like just not trying to make a big deal about anything, just sitting there. And the guy is about to preach, and he goes, "Hey, before I preach, young man right there," which I appreciate him calling me young man. But he goes, "Young man right there in the black shirt." And I'm like looking around, like, I wonder who he's talking to. And he's like, "You, right there, you with the black shirt." He's pointing right at me. And I go, "Oh, okay." And so I'm thinking, okay, so Teal, my friend, has he's going to set me up. This is like an embarrassing moment that he's put together, like because he's a jokester.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh
He's gonna
God,
sing you happy
Teal.
birthday or something.
I'm like, Teal, what did you do? And he goes, but this is not their preacher. This is like a guest communicator. He goes, listen, the Lord is speaking something so clearly to me that I need to say to you. And I'm like, okay, what's this going to be? I'm literally like thinking this is a joke. And he goes, you've prayed for a long time. Um, one specific prayer. You've been asking the Lord to do something in and through your life, and He's about to do it. And so you've been tired, you've been frustrated. In fact, you've gotten bad news lately, and you're wondering if it's ever going to happen, the Lord says it's about to happen. And I'm like, okay, what kind of a joke is this? I don't get the punchline. And then so anyway, I just was like, what was that? And so I asked Teal after the church, I go, bro, why did you tell that guy to do that? Like, what was that? He goes, I don't know that guy. I've never spoken with him ever. This is the first time we've had him here. And none of us knew he was going to do any of that. And I was like, okay. The next day is when I got the phone call from Murray saying, hey, you know that song We Believe? Yeah, I know it. Well, so they're doing this 85th birthday record for Billy Graham, and they asked the Newsboys to do a song for it, and they didn't have a song. So I pitched them We Believe, and they recorded it. And it's going to be on this 85th birthday CD. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, okay, like 11 people are going to buy that. Like, no one's going to hear that. Like,
11.
what? Like, so what? That's literally what I was thinking. So what? And you know what? That's probably what would have happened. They put out that record. Nothing happened. Y'all remember? Nothing happened when they put out that little compilation CD because nothing's supposed to happen. It's like, hey, happy birthday, Billy. Here's a gift.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, cool. What's next? Mm-hmm. So then the Newsboys, as I've been told the story, the Newsboys are done with their album, but they don't have enough songs. Mm-hmm. And so somebody tells them, hey, what about that song y'all did for that Billy Graham record?
Yeah.
Maybe you could just throw that onto the album. And so that's what their management decided was going to happen. They put that song on the record. It was never supposed to be on their record. And they were not going to single it. It was not a big deal. It was a throwaway moment just to finish the album. Okay. So then they're doing a radio interview in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've been to the radio station that they were at that day. Travis, I think you have too. To do an interview with those people at K-Love. And they're doing an interview, and they have this like contest where you like throw a dartboard, or it was like how many push-ups can you do, or something strange like that. And that was because they were like, we're going to play the single from this album, but then let's play another song and let's just pick it at random. Well, they picked We Believe at random. And after that, people started calling and calling and calling and requesting that they would play We Believe and not the single. So I'm just saying, so then they make a video for it, put it out, number one on radio, huge on CCLI across the world, and none of it was ever supposed to happen.
That's right.
And so then that makes me think back to that moment where the Lord said to me, everything you've been praying is about to happen. And it didn't feel like the next day that the news of the 85th birthday CD was evidence of that prophecy, like in any way. But like that, so that was my experience in watching that song kind of unfold. It just was wild, man. And so anyway, I just think God's crazy. Like, moral of the story, God's crazy.
He is 100%. Gosh.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, man. Yeah. It just goes to show you that, there's a sense of responsibility of when we are creating something that we do our due diligence and build it and whatever. But at the end of the day, just a rando moment of how many push-ups can you do? That's 12, or maybe that's the 12th song on the album, and it catches. And I mean, it's just God does confuse, and he, as you have written before, he confuses and confounds us,
Yeah.
He just builds, it's his kingdom. It's his plan. It's his will.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I feel like if the drummer had done the push-up contest, I don't think we'd be sat here right now.
No.
Well, I mean, because then you're going to have to play
Jack
134.
I think he's still there. I think he's still going. I think he's still K-Love going 255,000 and one, and he's like just cranking him out because that dude hangs out. He spins on drum kits and stuff. Like,
yeah, dude, the sun is always out for that guy because his guns are too.
So good, Matt.
I just I'm in awe.
I know.
No, it freaked. It was so cool being across the pond because I wasn't even the worship pastor of the church. I'd moved on to be. We had no pastoral care in the church, so me and my wife started pastoral care ministries, started from scratch, and so I'm writing. I'm not even like scheduling stuff, pastoring any musicians. I'm looking after small groups, discipleship, spiritual formation, stuff like that. And I keep getting these emails, and I kept saying to my wife, "I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
I don't understand it." And Murray would be like, "Dude, this is amazing," and then it would just snowball and snowball and snowball. And again, like I felt like you said, God really called me out of the worship department into pastoral care. And I was like, but you don't understand, God. I got songs to write. I got things to do. And he's like, no, I need you to do this for me. I need you to do this for me. And after we stepped into that place of obedience is when I wrote some of the most important, helpful songs, including We Believe. It was like the obedience, like you're talking about the obedience and the blessing and so personally, I was kind of so bad because I wasn't running part of worship department, but I'm going to Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm going to the Dove Awards and hanging out with you guys. And you know, by the way, I looked back the other day at like it went up for Song of the Year at the Doves, which is just unbelievable. And then I was looking at the other songs that were around. I think we were like No Longer Slaves, amazing song.
It is.
Touch the Sky, Hillsong United, I think there was a couple of other absolute bangers, all bangers, and just to be in the realms of it was just an incredible
That was wild.
moment to be
Are you
there.
saying it was an honor to be nominated?
I might be saying that.
Matt,
No,
Matt, did I ever tell you what I was going to say if we won the award that night?
no,
I never told you this.
no.
Oh, dude, I had this whole thing set up because, in my opinion, the whole thing about like we're going to give an award for the song that the best song in Christian music, the song that brought God the most glory, the song that the song that He liked the most. And so I was going to get up there and like super deadpan. Like I seriously had written it all out. Like I had it on a notes app on my phone. I was going to let you guys do your thing first.
Like, that's cute. That's cute.
That's nice. And then I was going to say, guys, we do want to thank you for recognizing that we have written, in fact, the best song of the year. And I know that all of you have really worked hard to bring God glory, and He appreciates it. He really does. But the song that brought Him the most glory of all the songs across the world,
yeah,
is our song.
oh gosh,
And so the Lord wants to encourage you to keep trying,
keep on
and
going.
maybe one day you can be up here and be glorified like we are for bringing Him glory because we did it the best.
Yeah,
So keep trying.
Yeah.
Like, and I wasn't gonna smile. I was just gonna like keep it super deadpan. And then they said Lauren Daigle has won the song of the year, and I was like, dang it, I can't give my speech.
that's amazing.
I told her later that week. I saw her and I said, "Hey, it's a good thing you won because here's what I was going to say." And she goes, "Oh man, I wish you would have won. That would have been amazing."
Yeah. She ended up singing it, right? She did a cover of it too.
Oh yeah, she did record We Believe.
She did a good version.
I think that was her way of apologizing to us.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Anyway, well, hey, so we're the reason for the pod is to talk about Psalms, and we talk about weakness and temptation. We talk about we've talked about this already in this conversation, but writing songs to put in the mouth of God's people and to give them moments where they're confronted with whether they believe or don't believe. And so one of the questions I wanted to hear from you guys is how the Psalms have impacted you and how they've shaped your approach to songwriting and how they've affected your spiritual life and your walk with the Lord. So, Matt, what about you, bud? Tell us about how the Psalms have impacted you.
Yeah, thanks, man. So uh, we left a pretty like similar to Travis. We were in a big church, especially for UK terms, one of the biggest, and we were on our way to planting a church, like a what do they call it? A parachute plant, like you start from scratch. I didn't know that's what it was called. There isn't like a ton of church plants in the UK. In fact, the UK at the minute is in a decline of churches. It's diminishing. We need an absolute genuine renewal right now. So bad, so bad. The history is just disappearing of the church in so many ways. And there are pockets of brilliance, of course. But then we were ramping up and we were launching on the 28th of May, 28th of March 2020. And we'd booked venues, spent a few thousand UK pounds booking those venues, and COVID hit and they shut everything down. And we lost maybe $7,000, which we'd fundraised. And I went into a existential funk for about a year, man. I just went on rage walks because we were only allowed to walk in the UK. You could only have one walk a day. It was like for an extrovert and an ENTJ personality, it was the most hateful thing in the world. It was like being told what to do by the man. Like, if you want
Yeah,
to see me lose my cool, like,
yeah.
just,
You see, just
Anyway,
a punk rock band,
yeah.
just like, let's go.
So I, uh, I hit I'd had bouts of depression, bouts of anxiety, panic
Mm,
attacks previously, and they started to kind of resurface a little bit. And what I was realizing was, like, as we were moving through lockdown, I wasn't really equipped theologically for this kind of what was happening in society, because of
mm,
my theology didn't allow me to express lament or grief or loss. Like, I would do anything to avoid those things in person. And so the Psalms, when I opened the Psalms, became, for probably the first time in my adult life, the way that I could connect with God. And it was the lament Psalms. It was,
wow.
this is horrendous. God, where are you? I hate this
Yeah.
stuff. This is unbroken misery and hate. And then some of the Psalms do lighten up at the end, and preachers love that. But I love the Psalms that don't lighten up, because it will lighten up. But I had become like a performative Christian that I couldn't even recognize my own grief. And then when I just sat in my own grief for a while, I found the presence of God stronger than ever. It was like, after a while, I'm not afraid of being sad anymore. I'm not afraid of it. In fact, I experienced that Jesus, it says a bruised reed he will not break. And it's such a, and again, my scale of good and evil just blew up. So I
Yeah,
saw
right.
more evil, but I saw God as more incredible. And
Wow.
the Psalms allowed me to access. It was like, it's not the epistles of Paul, which is theology and doctrine. It's not the hard sayings of Jesus. It's some messy kind of emotional, feely thing, but it's legitimate because it's in the scriptures. So
Yeah,
I was obsessed with it, man. I just got into the Psalms so hard, and I found the darkest, horriblest Psalms that are semi. You would never preach them on most evangelical Sunday mornings, and I'm like, yeah, that. There's some. David says some really flipping HBO level stuff,
yeah,
and so
Yes.
right.
for me, it was like I needed a new language, a new lexicon, an updated theology, and for what was going on, and it informed the church plant that we became. Uh, we were heading in a certain direction, and because of my interactions with the Psalms, and because of my acquaintance with grief and loss and disappointment, and allowing the Lord to get in on that, um, I would say I've become a more rounded person. My wife says I have. I've become a more, as you go ask your wife, and it's no good me saying that.
That's right.
She'll tell you if I'm telling the truth or not. And she says I am, and I'm calmer, and I'm a bit more. I don't feel like I have to fix everything, but I feel if I was to help anybody, it was like, let's pray the Psalms, man. Just get a Psalm out and pray it. So we do it on Sunday morning. Sometimes we'll just start the worship with a Psalm, and we'll all say it together,
It's good. Wow.
and just let it hits where it hits.
That's right.
And yeah, so it's been really that's how important they've become for me. They're probably now more on my way into the scriptures. I feel like when you've been in church all your life, you not only know the scripture, you also have 5 or 6 preachers ready for each of those scriptures, and so they call it the weaponization of the word of God. So you
Huh.
remember you remember 6 or 7 other what other people say. I know what John Piper says about it. I know what Tim Keller says about that. I know. And if you're not careful, you can lose. It doesn't hit you no more. And I felt like the Psalms were my way into, yeah, a broader theology, a better view of God, and my own humanity. And that's what it's helped me with. I'm much more comfortable being a human and not understanding. I have a higher view of God than I did when I was super Pentecostal evangelical, and I felt like it was up to me to save the world.
Wow.
I don't just, I'm happy to do my best. I don't know, I don't feel the same way anymore. I'm happier for it.
Come on.
That's amazing. That's so good, dude. I had a moment like that with Psalm 51 a couple weeks ago. I don't know why I've had it in my brain. You know how they say reading the Bible will mess up your theology, right? But so the phrase "restore unto me the joy of," I don't know why, but in my head it was the joy of my salvation, the joy of my salvation. That's not what the Bible says. Restore unto me the joy of your salvation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just to just to think of that, to go, oh wait, this salvation, it's not, it's his.
That's right.
It's his salvation. It's not mine. I didn't do it. He did it.
That's right.
And he offers it to me, but it's his to give. It's not mine to take. It's his to give, And so that just I just sat and stewed on that for a week, thinking about that. Where did I come up with the joy of my salvation?
Mm.
How did that happen? And so anyway, so Trav, what about you, bud? I mean, you are as prolific a songwriter as I know in the world, and I'd love to hear how the Psalms have impacted that, and not just your songwriting, but your life.
In my life. Yeah. Thanks, man. I find myself in this today, in this space of, with therapy, um, big therapy movements right now. If you spend time listening to, Instagram or TikTok, and everybody's got a voice right now. And so I mean, as Matt was saying, Claire's on there doing, these art kind of things. And then you've got these other voices that are speaking sports, and you got all these different voices in all these different markets. And I found my algorithms just feeding me, probably more therapeutic, talking trauma, like all these things.
So
And
Instagram's worried about you, is what you're saying.
yeah, 100%. And, and I'm like, Instagram's a mirror of my soul. That might be, or anybody else's soul.
They're not worried about me. They just show me the shoes I should buy
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the
Yeah.
chain I need to look at,
It's a mirror. It's a mirror.
And I'm like, I don't know about this T-shirt. Yes, I want it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I need to buy it right now. Buy autofill.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting right now, I've kind of been on this big journey of, I grew up in a Christian home. My dad was a worship leader. I grew up, when I think of the formation of my faith from a little
Mm.
kid all the way to now a 40-year-old man. Um, I My dad wasn't good with emotions. My mom wasn't good with emotions. And I would even say feelings and emotions are, two sides of the same coin, but feelings are different than even emotions. And we weren't good with feelings, and we weren't, and actually we were great with a specific kind of emotion, and that was anger. That was,
Mm.
I would even say, probably more rage, right? Um,
Mm.
and so, and so, if my dad felt sad, he would rage. If he felt fearful, he would rage. My mom would then do the typical kind of, and this isn't like a critique of my mother. I can honor them and also say, hey, we weren't good at this, and that's not a dig on them. That's actually a way for us to grow as a family. And so she would then kind of deflect, and so we would never want to feel, and let's kind of distract. Well, um, I've come to understand now where it's like every feeling, and I told you this a little bit, Richie, previously, maybe earlier this week or a couple days ago, I can't remember. Um, but yeah, feelings are a gift. They're a gift from God, and I think the evangelical church doesn't believe that in a grand. I think you have these pockets, but you have, we're theologians, and truth is truth, and Jesus came with truth, and we got to get God right, because if we get God right, uh,
Mm.
then man, He's going to be stoked about us, right? And you're kind of like that. There's probably some truth to that. Also, there's a sense of like, dude, I'm a human. I wake up and I am failing from the moment my feet hit the floor. From my first breath that I'm breathing, I'm not breathing right. Like um, the moment I look at my bank account, it's like I get stressed out or anxious or whatever. It's like, guys, we are failing from the moment our feet hit the floor to the moment our head hits the pillow. That's that's good news.
Yeah, right.
That's good news for us. There's so much bad news, and the good news is that Jesus sees that failure, redeems us from it, and then it says, "Behold, I'm making all things new." So even as I'm failing, He's making something brand new. That's freaking great news. That's good news. That is the gospel of Jesus Christ. Not that I'm just merely a sinner. He died on the cross so He could save me. The gospel is more elaborate and beautiful, and it's this newness that's happening. And so that part of the process is sanctification. So I've seen this like beautiful trajectory and change in my life, that I've seen the Psalms more as a theological space, as Matt was saying. And it forms our theology. I'm now getting into a point, into a place where I'm seeing it deeply emotional. And what's funny is, like, I don't know if you guys have seen it, Inside Out, and then Inside Out 2. I was watching Inside Out 2, and I was just like full on tears. Richie, I think even you and I talked about this too. And spoiler alert for those watching, but there's a beautiful moment where anxiety and joy have this encounter.
Yeah.
Joy tells anxiety, you have to let her go, and joy then takes over this girl, and we all feel that. That's a real feeling. That's a real encounter that every human being, if you're a human, this is what you've experienced. And I think what's crazy, back to Psalm 51, that is the one that is really meeting me where I am today. Because David, he doesn't have he's just sinned. He's sinned against Bathsheba. He's sinned against God. He's sinned against himself. He, like, every dynamically, it is a mess. There's murder. There's deceit. There's lying. There's cheating. And Nathan, right? He comes to him, and man, calls him out, calls him to the floor. And David's response being that he's like, "Create in me a clean heart." That word "create" means bara, which means ex nihilo. Literally the same thing. Like, I don't have it. As you spoke stars that came out of your mouth, let there be light. Let there be a new heart in me. And I think there's a sense of, and that's the gospel. He's making all things new. He's making our hearts new. He's there. So I think where I'm at, I'm in this like really beautiful relational moment with the Lord that I'm not performing for Him today. I don't find myself performing for Him. I feel very present today. I feel very glad that the Lord
Right.
is the Lord and I'm not.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm sad that I've lived that way, thinking that I can make God super stoked about me, when the only thing that makes him stoked about me is that I'm hidden in the beloved Son, whom is Jesus Christ, and I'm in him and he's in me. He's around me. Like this is the gospel. So, how that affects me as a person, as a pastor, and as a writer, it's like I'm going to bring my most honest self to the table, and my most honest self may kind of it may rub your performance drivenness wrong a little. It may make you a little scared. It may make you feel like, as you said, you're supposed to be the edgy one. There's a dynamic here where it's like I'm confident today. It may change
Mm.
tomorrow, but I'm confident today that I am in the Lord. And I think that's the thing with the Psalms is you see this like orientation of myself and God, then this insane disorientation that happens, like, oh my gosh, and he's like spinning out of control. And then you have a reorientation that happens, reorienting myself in the Lord. And I think
Yeah,
that's the beauty of songwriting. It's like,
yeah.
you know, if we can't bring our humanness to a song and all we can do is just sing truths, I'm like, we got to have truth and we also got to have grace. We got to Jesus came with grace and truth. Let's speak feeling, let's speak emotion, and then from there we now can deal with truth and we can guide that there. And I think that's where the church is at. Like if I could speak prophetically for a sense or for a second, it's like, we need more truth, we need more truth. It's like, dude, we got truth, we got it in the Bible. We need to remind ourselves of it. At the same time, I would say that we need to be more human, and in a world that's becoming more artificial around us. Let's
Yeah,
let's get more embodied. Let's get
I love that.
let's get more real, because the world's trying to make us artificial too. It's called AI. It's whether you like it or not. And people are enamored with this, and they're believing this idea that, oh man,
Yeah,
this is going to lead us to flourishing, right? And you're going, no, flourishing is only found within the person, human person, who is fully, totally, truly God and man, and it's in Christ. And so that gives me comfort. I find that in the Psalms. It's changing the way I'm living. It's changing the way I'm writing, and I think it's leading to better conversations. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the holistic view of what I think about the Psalms.
Great, man.
that's amazing, man. That's amazing. Well, before we end this call or end this podcast, tell us a little bit. Both of you guys try to keep it elevator. Like if you're an elevator and you're going up 13 floors, that's all you got.
Yep.
You're going up 13 floors. That's how much time you have to tell me what's going on in your life and how we can support you, pray for you, find you, connect with you. And like, maybe one thing that the Lord is just like burning a hole in your chest. This is what is next for me.
Yeah.
Matt, what is it, buddy?
Right.
Ding.
Ding. Oh, yeah. Right. So it's really about, it's actually, I've been doing front end ministry in a church, pastoring, establishing, and I feel like God's calling me away from that and into more creative pursuits, songwriting again, um, but in a but in a much more, in a broader realm. And the timing of this is freaky. Like I'm seeing Ryan Shirley next week on Zoom. It's like it's freaky, this stuff. Like the timing of this is this been stirring in me for a few months, and I feel like I need to really put some weight behind my writing and my creativity again. I've done that.
Wow,
They've done the church, and it's been a blessing. And that the Lord's asking me to do this thing, and so I'm feeling my way for it, like we all are. And so I'll be hitting you boys up in the future.
Come on.
dude.
That's
Absolutely. For
fantastic.
sure. And Trav, how about you, bud? Ding.
So I kind of see buckets happening in my life. I've got kind of this passion project that I'll be launching this fall. It's a band called Wilmore, and Richie, you and I, we've written a song out of that. That'll be on the project, and so I'll be releasing songs. Kind of the idea every 38 days, keep content consistent, kind of release it, and I'm really excited about that. There's a leadership dynamic that's happening right now in my life where I'm finding myself empowering. I'm finding myself empowering people more to Christ-like or Christ formation. That's more through intentional
Yeah.
spiritual development with people, with other worship leaders, and I don't really know what that looks like, but it's happening. Um,
Cool.
And then, yeah, man, I just think the biggest thing, I'm still locked into a local church and my hands are open right now. I'm just saying, all right, Lord, I've been at the church I've been at for 12 years. Is that where you want to continue to have me be planted, or are you wanting me to step out in some other faith ways? So, yeah, man, it's kind of an exciting season. I'm excited for what the Lord has.
That's so cool, man. Well, fellas, I love you both. I'm like the biggest fan on the planet of the two of you, and just so grateful to call you friends. Let's have a 20-year reunion at some point.
Done.
Let's do a 20-year cruise
Yes.
together. How about that?
Called
Yeah.
We Still Believe.
We still believe. We might believe.
We might believe.
But man, thanks for coming on today, and just pray God's very best blessings on both of you, and look forward to seeing what God's going to unfold in your story in the days and years to come. So, guys, thanks for tuning in to And Another Thing. What a treat. If you know these guys, if you don't know these guys, follow them on Instagram. Go download their music. Go stream their music. Check them out. Look out for Wilmore. Look out for Matt. He's got a new project. What's the name of the new project, Matt?
The EP is called Nostalgia, but kind of starting a kind of a side project called the Hold Fast, which is
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
bro, send me that. I need
Oh,
that.
let's go.
Where's Instagram when I need it?
so yeah, that's something like similar to Travis. We're just exploring it at the minute.
Okay.
Yeah, and Matt, you don't know this, but I'm putting out a rap album in the fall.
Hey,
So
hey.
that's the real truth. I really am. So God is
We out here, bro.
again, the theme of my life is God is crazy, and so whatever He says, I'm gonna do it. So anyway, love you, dudes. We'll see you again for another episode of And Another Thing.
Yes.
Hi there. Thank you for tuning in today. We want to know, what is your next step? Would you email us at info@movementchurch.co and let us know what the Lord is asking you to do and how we can help. If you'd like to contribute to the Movement Church, and we'd appreciate if you do, you can text any amount you would like to give to the number 84321, and it will help you do that. You can find the Movement Church on all social media platforms, and we'd ask that you give us a follow and stay connected so that you too can be a part of our story. Remember, God is for you, and so are we.